This is a Willets Point Shea Stadium bound 7 express train. The next and last stop is Willets Point, Shea Stadium.
Oh, yes, it is the Subway to Shea podcast. Anthony Rivera here with you, talking about all the news and happenings surrounding that team from Queens, the New York Mets. It's episode 243 from the Subway to Shea studios in my office. Now, you can follow Subway to Shea on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Subway to Shea. You can follow me personally on X at AntRivera86. Make sure you're subscribing to the podcast on Apple and Spotify if you prefer to listen. But if you want to be a part of the chat, want to be a part of the conversation, you're doing that right here on YouTube. You could also do it on X, but come on over to the YouTube channel, subscribe. We have a lot of fun on the channel and on the show. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. First off, I know it's been a couple of weeks since I've done a Subway to Shea. Been really honing in on the World Baseball Classic and content for that over the last couple of weeks, which was a lot of fun doing that with Keith Diaz from the Shea and Sons podcast. So I hope you guys enjoyed that a little bit. And there really wasn't much happening during spring training until I went away this past weekend to the Bahamas. I had no service, nothing, could not type, tweet, do any of that stuff. Had a little getaway with the family, and I am back now, probably getting sick, so I have a little tea next to me. But it was a lot of fun taking Mrs. Subway Shea and little Subway Shea on a little vacation, which was much needed. And now it's game time because opening day is at hand. Thursday, the New York Mets take on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Freddie Peralta against Paul Skeens. Shout out to everyone in the chat. We got 14 people in the room to start the day or to start the evening. Maureen in the chat, Green Machine, Shea's parking lot in here as well from the airport. My guy is coming. He's on TSA line right now, and he's coming to Citi Field to hang out with my guest today, and that is your favorite TOL, Al Cintron from WFAN. Al, man, it's been a while. Great to have you back on the show, my brother. Hope all is well. And Mets baseball, man, it's back.
Yes, it is. Wake your asses up because our opening day starts tomorrow.
I love it. It's always a fun event at Citi Field. At least we know that we have a great record, a great opening day record. That's something we can hang our hats on. I don't know if that banner's been created yet, but maybe someone's got to create that banner for all of us that we have such a great opening day record for the New York Mets.
Yeah, game one, of course, but not 162, especially if it's against the Marlins.
I don't think we even. I don't know who we end the season with. I have to check the full schedule. I haven't even looked at the entire schedule. We end with Washington. Okay,
yeah,
they give us fits too, but at least it's not the Marlins crushing our hearts year in and year out since 2007.
So as long as it's not the Marlins, we got a shot. It comes down to the last game of the season. So.
Absolutely. Let's get into this. We'll go all the way back. Let's go back to do a little bit of an off-season recap for these New York Mets. And, you look at what they did this off-season, starting off with some of the key acquisitions, some of the key guys that they let go of, obviously bringing in Freddie Peralta, Bo Bichette, Jorge Polanco, Marcus Semien, Luis Robert Jr. They brought also MJ Melendez, Devin Williams to be the closer, Luke Weaver in the bullpen, Luis Garcia, Tobias Myers, and Michael Tauchman, who we'll get into because over the last week, some news that kind of hurt his standing in trying to make this team, unfortunately. And then letting go of Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, Edwin Diaz, Ryan Stanek, Ryan Helsley, Tyler Rogers, as well as Gregory Soto. This was a kind of a monumental change for the New York Mets this offseason, something that they've really not done yet. We always talked about if they were going to do kind of a reboot or retooling, and they kind of did that finally this offseason, allowing David Stearns to get that work done.
Well, I mean, it had to be done when your team fails after starting 45-24, when you sign Juan Soto to the largest contract in baseball history, and you can't score 0 runs the last game of the season against the Marlins, and it's a slow death of a season. You gave the GM, David Stearns, every reason to tear that son of a bitch up. If you would have won games, if you'd have made the playoffs like you did the year before, I don't think it happens like this. I think maybe a Nimmo's gone, I can see Pete being back because, of course, they make the playoffs. He's a part of it. But the Mets flopping and failing gave David Stearns every opportunity to change this mess of last season.
And let's be honest here, and I think you would agree with me that the Mets overachieving in 2024 kind of really ruined the real plans that David Stearns had for this team, because I'm sure if things don't go right, if Pete Alonso does not hit that home run, he's probably gone even last season.
Yeah, 100%. But it wasn't, it was the opposite. 2024, they got off to a horrible start and then make the playoffs. Last year, 45 and 24. And then a day I'll never forget because it's my birthday. From that date on, the ship sunk slowly and it was a disaster. So, I know you said that 2024 delayed what Stearns really wanted to do. But when your team wins, that's exactly what they did. They won. And if he would have tore it apart after winning, especially coming up short in 6 games versus the Dodgers, who beat the Yankees in 5, we gave the Dodgers a nice series, so to speak, compared to everybody else. Of course you bring the guys back and try to add to it. And you add Juan Soto, and you're thinking, okay, here we go. But the pitching staff stunk. We can sit here and make all the excuses you want about this guy and that guy, but the reason the Mets fell apart is their starting pitching was horrendous. It wasn't healthy. Guys could barely pitch 2 innings. And the second half of the season, you had the guy, David Peterson fell off the face of the earth. Cordai Singer was too sensitive to throw to start a game the second half of the season. Sean Manaea had loose body fluids all over him. Who am I missing? Griffin Canning popped his hamstring running, or ACL running to first, or ACL, MCL, elemental P, whatever the fuck he popped, running to first base. I mean, everything fell apart for the team.
Yeah, it was just a trickle-down effect from the pitching staff to inconsistencies from the offense, bad defense, just led to a absolute horrendous collapse from this team. Outside of bringing in Juan Soto, which who even know if that happens, if they don't go on the run they do in 2024, even though they have the money, maybe he does stay with the Yankees after them going to the World Series. But we do have Juan Soto right now, and they're much better for it. And in his press conference, he talked about this team. He liked what he saw in the minor leagues and what he was told about this team coming up. And we got a couple of players ready to make an impact already on the Mets that we are going to get into. Now, I want to talk to you real quick as we finish this offseason, recap about the coaching staff. I know it may be a little hard to see, but obviously Carlos Mendoza was retained from the team, and then they brought in Jeff Albert to be the director of Major League Hitting. There's just so many terms now that they have for these coaches. Kai Correa as the bench coach, and hopefully defensive help that everyone keeps talking about. Hitting coach Troy Snitker, pitching coach Justin Willard. They finally relieved Jeremy Hefner of his duties, who I was never a big fan of in the first place. Getting rid of as well as Eric Chavez, the hitting coach, after all the struggles that this offense had. They really made some moves here on the coaching staff. What are your thoughts on leaving Eric Chavez to the dust? Also, Jeremy Hefner too, because I was definitely okay with allowing them to move on, because they've been with the team for way too long, especially Jeremy Hefner.
Well, Eric Chavez, he's been chirpy all offseason on social media, talking about the Mets. He can't get the Mets names out of his mouth. So whatever, he's gone. Jeremy Hefner, I love him. You know why? Because he took all the injury bugs from the pitchers in New York and took that shit to Atlanta. So he brought the pitching guru, brought all the injuries with him to Atlanta. So thank you, Jeremy Hefner, for that. As far as the rest of the coaching staff, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I can't even name them the way you just did, read off the paper. And I have glasses to read it. As long as the team wins, Mo, Larry, and Curly can be the coach of the team. I don't give a flying fuck. The team just needs to win.
Absolutely. And let's get into what is now this season preview with the New York Mets. And let's start off with the outfield, right? Juan Soto in left field, Luis Robert Jr. in center field, Carson Bench will be your starting right fielder. Tyrone Taylor is going to be coming off the bench here. Now, let's talk about Carson. Well, it's Carson Ben. Now looking at what the pronunciations were.
Wait, they changed it?
Apparently.
Oh, come on,
His
man.
last name is Carson Ben. That's how they had it on on the
God.
Mets website. So Carson Ben makes the right field. Now, he's been talked about all offseason, right? Like that has been the whole discussion ever since the season ended, ever since David Stearns went on his post-season presser. First guy that he mentions going into next season was Carson Ben.
His son.
Now all of a sudden, he makes the roster after a great spring, was pushed by David Stearns, bringing in guys like Michael Talkman as well as MJ Melendez. This is going to be a big start for Carson Ben in right field. And the fact that even Juan Soto moves over to left field for him tells you how much this organization thinks of this kid.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think Nimmo would have been gone regardless. They wanted to put this kid in, so Nimmo they get rid of Nimmo, open the door for Carson. And I'm going to call him Carson Binge until I hear the announcement that Citi Field opening day tomorrow, because I don't want to say Ben, and then all of a sudden it's Binge on opening day tomorrow, and then we have this clip where we can't say his damn name right. So it's been nobody said anything all off season. Nobody said a damn thing all spring training, and now you're going to flip the script the night before opening day. Kiss my ass. So Carson Binge, I expect him. The only thing I expect from him is play solid defense. You hear what Bichette and Lindor said about him, saying the Mets found a good one here. He's going to go gap to gap. I'm not expecting him to hit 330 homers and all this stuff. Just play a good to great right field defensively, be smart on the base pads, put the ball in play, and just do your job. That's it. Don't try to do too much, because you have plenty of guys in his team that can pick up the slack. But, just don't be a zero like center field was for us last season in terms of offense.
Well, I think the good thing about Carson, we'll go with Carson Bench. The good thing about him is the fact that he's not being brought in to be some type of savior for this team. Yep. We already have Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor leading this team along with Bo Bichette. You can throw Marcus Semien and his leadership in there as well. Jorge Polanco is a veteran. Luis Robert Jr. is a veteran. So you already got these guys that are expected to kind of lead the team and be the pivotal part of the offense. Whereas Carson Bench now can come play his natural position in right field, can also now probably bat ninth and not really have to be the main cog of this offense. I think this is a good spot for him to bring him up rather than, carry a guy like MJ Melendez, or at the time probably would have been Michael Talkman. This is a good spot for Carson Bench.
Yeah, and he's coming to a team has a bunch of veterans that have been to the World Series, have won a World Series, who've done it all in Major League Baseball, and he doesn't have to be the savior. And, previous years when we brought up our stud prospects, Harvey was made to be the savior. Jose Reyes and David Wright, especially David Wright, the poster boy, he was the savior. We've had this happen over Darryl Strawberry back in the day, Doc Gooden back in the day, the savior. Carson Bench doesn't have that pressure on him. He's just going to have to be one of the guys. He just can't suck. That pretty much. That's it. If he sucks, then he's not going to be here all season long. But I don't think he will. David Stearns wouldn't put his name out there the way he did. It's like you said, as soon as the season ended, he was talking about his son the whole time. And here he is. He makes the roster. He earned it. He hit over 400 in spring, whatever it was. He killed it. And it didn't look too big for him. And we'll find out tomorrow. Welcome to the big show, kid. Paul Skeens.
Yeah, and I think the great part is what David Stearns has done. And we've seen him do this as well with like a guy like Mark Vientos, where he kind of challenged Mark Vientos in spring training last year, mostly towards the end, where Mark Vientos thought he had the job won. Then they bring in JD Martinez that takes the DH spot, gets Mark Vientos sent down all the way to AAA, and he has to work his way back up, and he had a stellar season. I kind of find this to be a little bit similar, although Carson Bench has more talent. But he pushed Carson Bench not only by putting his name out there, not only by moving Juan Soto to left field, but bringing in Talkman, bringing in Melendez. The challenges were there, and Carson Bench met every opportunity and every challenge and delivered in spring training.
Yeah, listen, if Mike Talkman doesn't get hurt, he's on this team. I think the team carries 5 outfielders to start the season.
Yeah.
Because Talkman on the spot, too. It's unfortunate what happened to him. It's just, it's a freak accident. It's not like he was running the bases, or it's just a freak accident. But here we are, Carson Bench. He's the starting right fielder. I'm pumped up for it. He's wearing number 3. Bud Harrelson was a legendary number 3. World Series champion Rafael Santana was a number 3. Other than that, can you name another number 3 for the Mets? No. So he has an opportunity to make this his own number for the next decade plus and cement his legacy as one of the, baby Mets that comes up and becomes a legend.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Talking about that Mike Tauchman injury, meniscus tear in his knee, is requiring surgery. He won't be out for the full season. He may have an opportunity to come back. He really had a great spring. So I agree. I thought with you as well, he was going to be carried on this team along with Carson Benj. But that is not going to happen. Now let's move to center field, because center field has been a struggle for the Mets to have someone consistently be there and start. Now, 2024, they had Harrison Bader, who for the most part had a good season until he fell off. Then Tyrone Taylor kind of took over. Then they start the season with Tyrone Taylor as your starting center fielder, but Tyrone Taylor's in the right spot right now as a bench piece. That's his role. He can't be playing every day. He gets exposed offensively when they do that. So the Mets traded for Luis Robert Jr., trading Luis Angel Acuna to the Chicago White Sox. I think that this is a good spot for Luis Robert Jr. getting out of Chicago, not being, again, we talked about Benj, not being the key savior and key cog of the offense. Same kind of goes for Luis Robert Jr., where he's not that, guy that's running the offense like he was in Chicago, but he has a very important role. Not only does he play great defense and is a Gold Glover, but his offense, if he could provide the power, doesn't replace Pete Alonso's 50 home runs. But, 25 to 30 home runs from a guy like Luis Robert Jr. in that, maybe 6th, 7th, 8th role, that would be pretty big for the Mets.
But let's not forget that he's on this team. If he, does what he's supposed to do, he's going to easily steal 40 to 50 bases for the Mets. He's still 33 for crap White Sox team. And you see Luis, that switch hitting prospect that we had, Luis Angel Acuna, wink, wink. He bats righty, schmuck, whoever runs the White Sox. He had a great spring himself. So Luis Robert Jr. is going to be feeling it, because fans there's a lot of fans that didn't want to trade, Acuna Jr. But me, if you have an opportunity to upgrade your center field position and trade away somebody who didn't have a place on his roster, was a utility man, you do what you have to do. And Luis Robert Jr. has the potential, especially in this lineup, where he can blend in. He doesn't have to be the man like he was in Chicago, playing in front of 7 people. Yes, go look it up. There was a game and there was less than 1,000 people at a game in Chicago. Disgraceful. And now he comes here with Soto, with Lindor, with Bichette, with Polanco, with Alvarez, with Beatty. Well, the list goes on and on and on. Well, he could just come in and be one of the guys. And, batting in 6, 7, 8, when he's not in the, cleanup or third, not the same amount of pressure, but, he has a chance, and he's looking to get paid. So if he has a big monster season, I believe he has 1 year left on his deal. After this, a club option or team option, I'm not sure. A play option, I'm not sure.
I think it's a team option.
Okay. He's looking to get paid, so if he has a monster season, that's a bargain. $20 million for a star Gold Glove center fielder. I'll take it.
Yeah, you brought up so many great points. Let's start it with Luis Angel Acuna, because, not only is he a utility guy, but he really has no room on this team. If you want to play Ronnie Mauricio, if you love the potential of Ronnie Mauricio, like Luis Angel Acuna is expendable. These other guys that were coming up with the Mets, AJ Ewing, who's another guy. These guys, they have an influx of infielders. Jacob Reimer. There's just so many guys that are in this minor league organization that probably have better potential than Luis Angel Acuna at making this roster. Now in Chicago, he may flourish because they don't really have a team right now. So maybe he gets the opportunity to play every day and be that guy. So I was okay with the trade in bringing in Luis Robert Jr. I thought the potential for Luis Robert was perfect. And David Stearns played this well. You talk about the club option for this team. And, they bring in a player who is probably going to play his ass off. And, knowing that he needs to play for a contract, that's a big deal. And you get the best out of some of these players most of the time, right? Pete Alonso did it last year, getting the way that he played. But this also helps the Mets, because if they do not bring back and Luis Robert Jr., like I mentioned, AJ Ewing is waiting in the wings, and he had probably a better spring than Carson Benj did. So that he opened a lot of eyes this spring. And that will be something that we will be watching as the season unfolds into next year as well.
Yeah, the future. Listen, the future is now, and the future is bright. If that makes any sense,
Yeah,
you want to
absolutely.
have what you want as an organization. You want to have as many kids thrive and flourish on the big league club, and then you spend that money where you need to spend it, which is pretty much starting pitching and bullpen. You do that, and if the Mets can somehow, some way, these young kids come up, Bench can set the tone. And Alvarez, hopefully, he's 24 years old, but he feels like he's been in the league for 45 years. Brett Beatty, it's unfortunate what happened to him at the end of the season because that's a kid who bounced back from all the negativity and all the bad pub he was getting. If he can do what he did last year before the injury, then the Mets are going to be fine with another kid like that. Mark Vientos, he's on the clock, man. Like, I thought he was going to have a monster 2025. And I said it when I was on the air. When I saw the spring training game, he had that big ass diamond chain. I said, man, he's feeling himself, man. I don't like this. And I was right. He was horrendous. And even horrendous, he had 17 home runs, I believe. So imagine if he's locked in, stop swinging at sliders that end up in, Scranton, New Jersey. Imagine if he stopped doing that. Then he could hit 25 home. I'll take 25 home runs from Mark Vientos. And you look at everybody else. You talked about Pete Alonso's power. I did the math. I've done it on the air. Nemo, Alonso, McNeil, their numbers compared to bringing in Simeon, Roberts Jr., Polanco, and Bichette, they easily make up for the loss of those guys.
Yeah. And I think the big thing, I mentioned this on the show multiple times over the last couple of months, is that the big takeaway of adding those guys is that they could, one, hit with runners in scoring position, two, hit with runners in scoring position with 2 outs. Huge for the Mets, whereas these guys could not do that. And that's a reason why David Stearns decided it was time to move on. We'll get into Mark Vientos a little bit more as we roll on with the show, but we got to wrap up talking about the outfielders with talking about Juan Soto. Now, Juan Soto had an interesting start to his Mets career. He hit 43 home runs, best of his career, had 105 RBIs, 38 stolen bases, also best in his career, had a 921 OPS. All looks great, right? You look at it on paper, fantastic season. I think he finished second or third in MVP voting. I couldn't remember off the top of my head.
Third.
But hitting in the clutch was a struggle for him.
Under 200.
Yeah, he kind of had that first type of season that Carlos Beltran had in transitioning into being a Met. The same thing Francisco Lindor had, but I mean, I only expect bigger things for Juan Soto moving forward, and the fact that he was willing to move to left field just shows you how much of a team player he is, and this is probably better for him playing left field than it was playing right field. I think he'll be a little bit better out there in left field, and the offense is going to be tops in the National League.
I wonder if the WBC wasn't going on, would he have been so easy to move to left field, because he was playing left field in the WBC,
right?
He was slotted in there. There's no way he was playing right over Tatis Jr. But according to Mendoza, who, I'll be honest with you, I don't trust when he says what he says to the media. I don't. From this entire during the end of the season and this offseason, saying the clubhouse was fine. It was not fine. I've had people tell me, I've talked about it. I know he's trying to protect the players that are there and protect the players that are gone, but I don't like him lying. All he should say is, that was last year. I'm ready to move forward. Like Soto did. Last year. I'm ready to move on. Juan Soto moving to left field. I think it's going to be a great thing, especially if Benj is solid defensively in right field. We don't have to worry about them lapses in right field, because Citi Field right field is way different to play than a lot of other ballparks. But I think Juan Soto, and I said it the minute I heard the comments about he's coming for Ohtani's MVP, I think Juan Soto's winning MVP this year.
He said himself. He said he's coming for the MVP. So I don't know how it is with Major League Baseball and the voting, and it's like, oh, maybe Ohtani's won too many times. And if he has another season where he's great, if they give it to him to have him break records, or if they're like, that's too much, let's do somebody else. And then Juan Soto comes in and takes it. But Juan Soto, like you said, he feels destined to be the first Met to win an MVP. And that would be a huge ordeal for him to be able to figure out how to win that. We know that he's got great offense. I hope that he's still able to steal bases, and he's learned a lot from Antoine Richardson, because Antoine Richardson's gone now, and all the stuff that work that he did with helping this team steal more bases is now, off, I think, with the Atlanta Braves. So, hopefully Soto can still steal bases. Obviously, we know he has the power, he has the patience for walks, and he could drive and run. So even in a year of struggling with runners in scoring position, he still hits 43 homers and he still has 105 RBIs, which is pretty good to me.
Yeah, listen, I honestly speaking, I don't care about individual awards. I mean, I'm picking him to win it. But at the end of the day, if he, has a great season and the Mets make the playoffs and make a run, that's all I care about and get to the World Series. Individual stuff is fine. Juan Soto challenging Shohei Ohtani when so many people have bowed down and got on their knees with blue Dodger blue knee pads from the other players to the other organizations to the media. Oh, he's the greatest thing I've ever seen. I've had it with it. He has a loaded team with him, and good for him. Like, the Dodgers are loaded. Good for them. But I think Juan Soto, when you come out and make a statement like that, I'm coming for the MVP. You're going to be locked in from the jump. And the WBC was locked in, not the last game, unfortunately, for the Team DR, but he was locked in the whole WBC. He was having fun before he went to the WBC. You can see the way he was. He was loose with the fans. I mean, he was loose with the fans, loose with the team. He wasn't a tight ass like a fresh inmate. He was really outgoing. So you can see this is a different Juan Soto from last year. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does this upcoming season. I have him hitting the first home run for the New York Mets this season.
Is it on opening day?
I said it on the air against on opening day. Now, is it going to be Skeens or somebody in the bullpen? I'm not going to say that, but I think he does an opening day.
Double down, man. Double down. Parlay.
He's going to hit the first two at bats. He's hitting a home run. One of those at bats at Citi Field. It's going to be 70 degrees. Yes, he's going to fucking do it versus Paul Skeens. Suck it.
Let's move to the Mets infield here. Obviously, a big change, right? Jorge Polanco will be playing first base. Marcus Semien second base. Francisco Lindor healthy, playing shortstop after the hamate bone injury and surgery. Bo Bichette will be at third base, and backing up Francisco Lindor at shortstop as well, as Carlos Mendoza said on days off that he needs. Jared Young will be on the bench. He'll be one of your utility guys that can play the infield and the outfield. Same along the lines with Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos, the DH slash bench first baseman, whatever you want to call him right now. We'll get into Mark Vientos in just a few minutes. But you look up the middle. You have Marcus Semien, who struggled offensively last year following an injury, but has the defense, has the leadership. You pair him up with Francisco Lindor, and, everyone talks about up the middle defense and how important that is. Marcus Semien, Francisco Lindor, Luis Robert Jr. You could not ask for a better defensive situation when it comes to that for the New York Mets.
Well, the thing you mentioned Marcus Semien, his numbers. He played 81 games in Texas last year. On the road, his numbers were better. Second half of the season, his numbers were better. So getting out of that, out of Texas, and good luck to Brandon Nimmo playing right field at Texas. Not our problem anymore. No alarm. I think Marcus Semien is going to thrive in this offense with this group of guys. You can already see how they've bonded already. They look like they're more together now than the team last year was. And they were together how many months, last year? So I expect big things from Marcus Semien. Bo Bichette, I've always been a fan of his from afar. In the World Series, when he smacked that home run off Ohtani, playing pretty much on one leg, learning to play second base in the World Series in the playoffs. That shows guts, that shows moxie. The guy puts the ball in play. It's going to be a breath of fresh air to see a team that plays some small ball, that doesn't look to hit every ball at the ballpark, that puts the ball in play gap to gap, that drives the runners over, drives the runners in, not swinging at balls in the third row in the upper deck like Brandon Nimmo. And I know Pete Alonso had a great year last year. I got sick of him swinging at sliders all the time too. It's going to be a breath of fresh air. This is old school baseball. I don't expect the Mets to strike out a lot. I expect the Mets to be right on top in the offense with everything: hits, singles, doubles, runs. I don't know about homers, but I think if everybody does lives up to the potential. I said I could see this lineup, everybody easily hitting, starting at the lowest 18 to, Soto 40, 45 home runs.
Yeah, you posted the clip from WFAN the other day, and I reposted it about, how much you love the way this lineup is shaping up to be, because it's not just about power, which was what that team was last year. It was home run or bust. And now this year you have a little bit more balance, and the fact that Carson Bench will be hitting ninth, shows you a lot from this team. So, hopefully Lindor bounces back to have another solid offensive season. It's huge having him play opening day. The process to getting back after starting the offseason, after starting, spring training, finding out that he had that hamate injury, to having the surgery and quickly getting himself back. We've seen this before with Francisco Alvarez. I kind of had a feeling and knew that Francisco Lindor is a different animal and would be back a little bit faster, especially with the fact that, he's not catching. I mean, like, Francisco Alvarez having to catch with that hamate bone injury, not the greatest thing in the world, but Francisco Lindor getting himself back to who we know he is offensively and defensively, because I got to say, a little bit last year is a little bit of a struggle for him at shortstop. Yeah,
he had his issues defensively last year. With Francisco Lindor, maybe the fans will shut the fuck up for once when it comes to him. They question his heart, which is ridiculous. And the man plays every day as well. They laud Pete Alonso. Oh, Pete plays every day. So is Francisco Lindor, and his position is more taxing to play shortstop. It's harder to play shortstop than play first base. But again, friends, I wanted Francisco Lindor to come back when he was ready. But hey, I trust him. And I trust the Mets. He's ready to go opening day, and I'll be there. So welcome back, Francisco Lindor.
Absolutely. Now you look at, obviously, offensively, this infield is really solid. You talked about Bo Bichette. Jorge Polanco could be a 20 to 25 home run guy.
Yep.
The issue is these two guys are transitioning to new positions, right? I have a better feeling on Bo Bichette moving from shortstop to third. Obviously, he had to learn the new position during the World Series, and that worked out well for them. I feel like this is an A-Rod type thing where him moving to third is not going to be as bad as people thought it would be, especially after them seeing the first play of spring, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, we're freaking out for no reason right now." Let it happen in spring. Let him get the kinks out. He'll be fine. Jorge Polanco, on the other hand, transitioning from second to first, that one has me a little concerned, a little bit, and that'll be a part of my predictions later on in the show. So I want to know your thoughts on these guys, kind of learning new positions on the job here, where you have the up-the-middle defense is great, and I'm pretty sure they'll help out a lot, where you have Polanco and Bichette kind of being the new position guys.
I am worried about Polanco at first. I also see Brett Beatty being the first baseman before the season's over. I could easily also see, if Bichette struggles at third, him going to second and Simeon playing third, because Simeon's played third before. He's done it for, and his glove is a gold glove. Maybe Bichette, if he struggles at third, let's hope he doesn't. But if he does, it's easy to switch the second and third base spots up. And again, Beatty was working all off season and the spring playing first. So was Vientos. But if I had to pick between Vientos and Beatty, whose glove do I trust to do the job at first base? If Polanco can't do it, it's Brett Beatty. And I never thought those words would ever come out of my mouth when saying anything positive about Brett Beatty, the way his career has gone as a Met prior to last year.
Yeah, it's outside of having that stellar second half that he did, Brett Beatty had pretty much struggled most of his career, doing great in spring, doing great down in AAA, and then coming up, and it's been a struggle. But his second half, the Mets really missed him in that last weekend of the season where he got hurt. They really could have used his bat and defense out there, and it didn't end up being that way for them. But as you said, Mark Vientos, I see him mostly as a DH. Eventually, I think he's not going to be on the team, and we could probably talk about that in a little bit. But he really doesn't fit what David Stern has put here on this team. He's here because he's here. But when you look at the team that he's put together, versatility, speed, good at bats, that's something that we have not seen from Mark Vientos outside of 2024. And who knows if that season is an anomaly. I mean, you mentioned 17 home runs last year, even in a bad season. I mean, if he could turn back the clock and be that guy from 2024, fantastic. But the thing is, like you said, does that ego come into play, right? He comes into the 2024 season and he's looking to learn, right? Francisco Lindor takes him under his wing, shows him how to play defense. I think you were even on the show when we were talking about that, like how big of a deal that was. And then 2025, you mentioned he comes into spring training. He's got the chains. He's got a cocky attitude, and kind of did not work out for him last season, although hitting 17 homers and 60 RBIs. So I see at some point, even if he does start to play well, it might be time to pull the trigger to trade him.
If he's playing well and he's hitting like he did second half of 2024 and in the playoffs, I'm not trading him. I just wouldn't do it unless you were getting a top end of the rotation pitcher, because this is what you've been wanting from Mark Vientos. You know, he struggled in last season. He struggled this spring training. He struggled in the WBC. They're giving him every opportunity to kill it. And if he can, he's got to get off to a fast start, because if he does not get off to a fast start, he's going to have Splinter sitting on his ass on the bench, because that's it. He's going to be benched, and Brett Beatty's going to get all the opportunities, and whoever else they want to give opportunities to. But they're giving Mark Vientos every opportunity to start the season. He's going to be the everyday DH. That's what they say. That can change. But right now at the gates, he's getting the opportunity to be the man. And as a player, that's what you can ask for, to get the opportunity. He's getting it. The question is he going to run with it, or is he going to suck ass like he did last year?
Shea Parking Lot saying Vientos became Willie Mays Hayes in Major League Two. So, yeah, kind of pretty much how he handled being offensively last year.
Great movie.
Love those movies. Jared Young won the final spot on the bench.
By default.
Over Vidal Brujan. I guess the versatility brings him there. He could provide some pop, but, I don't really see much coming out of Jared Young. David Stern has some infatuation with not only Jared Young, but Richard Lovelady. So,
God,
he's back for, I know why they're doing it. I understand it, but it's like, man, how many more times do we got to see this guy in the Mets bullpen?
Well, guess what? Our old friend it might be back. Drew Smith. He might be back.
That. I did see
Drew
that.
Smith might be back. So Dick Lovelady, I think, is here. Whether it's Kimbrel who comes up or whether it's Drew Smith, he's just here to fill out a spot, wave to the crowd on opening day, stand on the baseline, and then he won't last a month with the team.
Especially if AJ Minter comes back as
healthy. That's another one. That's another one.
Yeah, so let's move on to the catchers here. Francisco Alvarez, Luis Torrens. Quickly with Luis Torrens, because there's not much there. He's your prototypical backup catcher. I know they had brought in Austin Barnes for a little bit, and he just got released.
They released him.
Yeah. Ben Rodved got sent DFA'd. They do have what's his name, Hayden Singer, who could be there as well. But Luis Torrens has pretty much been a really good backup catcher defensively. Provides you some pop and some offense when needed. But that all depends on if Francisco Alvarez can stay healthy. That's going to be the big story surrounding Francisco Alvarez. Obviously, he's suffered a lot of injuries, a lot of freak injuries to his hand, which has been a major part. But even with that, he has never really taken off like he did in 2023 when he hit, 24, 25, 26 home runs in the season. He hasn't really taken off since then. And the hope is that he can provide that offense this year and stay healthy.
Well, another scenario I could see, if it's all about defense, is let's say Francisco Alvarez is struggling defensively, because Luis Torrens is just a Gold Glove defensive catcher. I'm all for Alvarez being the DH if Vientos is not getting it done, and Alvarez is hitting but struggling defensively, and Torrens being the catcher. And then up the middle, you have Torrens, you have Simeon, Lindor, and Luis Robert Jr. It'd probably be the best up the middle defense in baseball. And probably the best since we had, the group that we had when we had Olerud and those guys, Alfonso, Ordonez, when we had that group of guys. But Luis Torrens that was a steal for David Stearns to get him from the Yankees for pretty much a bag of used condoms. That was awesome. We stole him. And, I'm expecting a big year from Francisco Alvarez. Again, he's 24, but he feels like it's been here forever. If he stays healthy, That kid, he had a great second half of the season last year when he came back from injury. He was putting the ball in play, wasn't striking out as much. If he has the potential, and we've been saying this for years, 25, 30 home runs, easy, easy. It's just got to stay healthy.
Yeah. And I know a lot of fans are like, this is the year. Like, if he doesn't come through now, that's it. I don't feel that way. I mean, the kid's only 23, 24 years old.
24. Yeah.
This is like, you can't give up on a prospect that early. Look at some of the guys that we've given up on, and they become players elsewhere. Justin Turner, Angel Pagan. I mean, there's, I'm not willing to give up on Francisco Alvarez just yet. Now, is he the main important piece of your team? Probably not. But if he can provide, legitimate offense and get a little bit better on defense, the pitchers already love him as their catchers. So, I don't know. I'm one that thinks that even if he, struggles or can't stay healthy this season, he's still too young to just say, that's it.
Yeah, but then you have to look at it and do we want to go through this again in terms of make him the outright number one catcher? We could go straight platoon when it comes to that. I'm not giving up on Alvy. I'm just saying, like, if he gets injured again, it was freak accidents, rounding the base, hit by the pitches. It's just freak sliding into second base. It's always freak accidents with his hands. But he's got to stay healthy, or else he's going to give the organization the reason to say, you know what? We can't make you the everyday catcher. It's going to be a split job. And that's what it'll be. I don't think they'll give up on him, but I think it'll be a split.
Getting rid of Austin Barnes as well as Ben Rodved. Now the Mets have on their depth chart Hayden Sanger, Kevin Parada. That's their catching depth chart right now. And
stay healthy, please.
Stay healthy, absolutely. Yes. Let's get into the starting pitching here with the New York Mets and preview the starting pitching, starting rotation, which has been set here by the New York Mets. Freddie Peralta obviously getting the opening day nod against Paul Skeens, followed by David Peterson, Nolan McLean, Clay Holmes, and Kodai Senga. Those are your 5 stars, and we know in April there's a lot of days off at this moment in time, so there's no need for a 6-man rotation, which leaves Sean Manaea on the outs and in the bullpen, and we'll get into him in a little bit. But Freddie Peralta starting it off here. This is a big show for him because he's looking to earn a contract extension, and he says he wants to stay with the Mets. He said he's grown up as a Mets fan, and this is a good showcase.
He said he grew up a Mets fan?
He said he grew up a Met fan and a Red Sox fan. He has family in Queens, he talked about during his presser today. So Freddie Peralta, unless it's all talk from Freddie Peralta, but
might be a kiss ass spot.
Are you happy with this team not giving him the contract extension right away and just seeing how he acclimates himself to New York? Or are you one of those guys that's like, hey man, we traded Brandon Sproat and Jet Williams for him. Like, we should lock this guy down.
I'm just gonna, like David Stearns, let's look at the contracts and all that stuff, the way things have worked out. He lets the market dictate what he's gonna pay Freddie Garcia. I mean, I keep calling Freddie Garcia. I did it on the radio too. Freddie Peralta. That's a guy. As soon as Stearns got the job, when I was looking at guys to bring in, that was the first guy I thought David Stearns should go out. He's making $8 million. The guy's uber positive. His teammates in Milwaukee love him. His energy is terrific. He's a frontline starter. At times, he could only go 5 innings for multiple starts. So do a lot of other pitchers. But bringing in Freddie Peralta takes the pressure off of Nolan McLean. That doesn't have to be the ace from the jump and have all that pressure. And they have Peterson second. They have McLean third. They have Holmes fourth, who earned the right to be a starting pitcher. So to the people out there, can you stop saying put him in the bullpen? He was the most consistent starting pitcher all season long. With his ERA was top 10 in the league. And then last series of the season, he won a big game. And he pitched 6 shutout innings. When the next day, Sean Manaea couldn't even get the second inning. And I think if Sean Manaea would have pitched well this spring and was throwing 95, the Mets would have opened with a 6-man rotation. I truly believe they would have done that. But they're not doing it. And Kodai Senga had an amazing spring. I think he is the difference maker in this rotation. Looking at his numbers in the spring, he pitched 11 innings and 9 hits or whatever it was. He was awesome.
He pitched 3. He started 3 games, 9 2/3 innings pitched.
There you go.
1.86 ERA, only gave up 2 earned runs and had 11 strikeouts to 1 walk. Pretty
That's
solid
it.
spring, if you ask me.
That's the Kodai Senga that we saw before Pete Alonso threw the ball to Neptune, and then Kodai Senga popped his hamstring. That I don't care what anybody says, especially for the Kodai Senga, a guy who has history of everything has to be perfect for him.
Mm-hmm.
That derailed his season, and had an under 2 ERA. He was fantastic before that injury, and I think if we could get anything close to that Kodai Senga, then the Mets should run away with this division. Yes, I said it, run away, because the Phillies, they're a year older. I don't believe in that group. There's some issues in that clubhouse. There's some issues with management and Bryce Harper. The Braves, they're gonna have. I heard an opening day some guy from Target starting. Since they have so many guys injured. That's what I heard. That's the rumor. So a guy in the paint section at Target's going to be starting for the Atlanta Braves on opening day. So I'm not worried about the Braves. They have way too many injuries for me. Their offense is good, but their pitching stinks. And I just think if the Mets are Kodai Senga, Nolan McLean, and Freddie Peralta, and if David Peterson could be fine, and Clay Holmes did what he did last year, again, the Mets should win this division by 5 or 6 games, maybe even more.
Let's start off with Clay Holmes, because he was really my pitcher of the year last year. Considering the fact that he transitioned from being a closer to just a regular reliever to now being a starting pitcher with the New York Mets. David Stern saw something in him, believed in it, and it definitely worked out. And I think what sold me on him remaining in the rotation was that game that you mentioned, that final game that he pitched in Miami. It was like that Johan Santana, John Maine type game where the Mets needed a win, and he delivered in a big spot, in a big way for the Mets. So, yeah, Clay Holmes probably in the right spot, being that 4th starter for the Mets, not counting on being, the ace for most of the season, because either everyone's hurt or no one's delivering. So him in that 4th spot, I like that right there, going with Clay Holmes.
No, like if you're going to kill him for signing Frankie Montas, and rightfully so. That was a horrendous sign. You might as well have signed one of the zombies at Penn Station at 2 a.m, because they would have probably pitched more innings than this guy Frankie Montas did. Frankie Montas was a waste. But if you're going to kill Stearns for signing guys like that, praise him for what he did with Clay Holmes. He saw something in him. He locked in on him. He made him a starter. And Clay Holmes was awesome last year, considering he never started before. The pitched innings that he's done, they did last year. He was excellent.
You look at Kodai Senga being that 5th starter. I mean, probably you couldn't have asked for a better 5th starter, considering the talent. And I talked about this on a couple of other shows. He is my wild card of this team.
Same.
If Kodai Senga, who has all the talent in the world he could be the best pitcher in this rotation. I mean, when you talk about stuff and what we've seen from him when healthy, I mean, he has the opportunity to be better than Nolan McLean and Freddie Peralta. And if he can just stay healthy and everything just goes right for him, I mean, we're talking, and look at the start of his season last year. I think he had a little bit over 1 ERA, was really off to a good start before the Pete Alonso fiasco.
Yeah.
And, adding him to this rotation, we always talk about going into the postseason and at least having 3 starters. That could be Freddie Peralta, Kodai Senga, and Nolan McLean. And I find it tough to go to bat against those guys if they're all on their game.
Yeah, for me, Kodai Senga, just be healthy all season long and be consistently good at the end of the day. None of this pitch 2 innings. I'm sorry, I didn't pitch well. My jock strap is irritating my sack. It's always something with Kodai Senga. Shit has to be perfect for him. Mm-hmm. Met fans have had it. Just go out there, do your job, give us 5-6 innings, solid baseball, be consistent on the mound, and make 26 to 30 starts. And again, I'm okay if they skip them here and there, because I can see them doing that with McLean, skipping McLean here and there. I can see them doing it with Senga because of his injury history, skipping him here and there. I can see at times with Clay Holmes, same thing. If he needs a day, fatigue. It happened last year where he only threw 70 pitches in the game or whatever it was because he was fatigued from pitching against the Colorado minor leaguers. So I can see the Mets doing it. All I want from Kodai Senga is to be consistently available and pitch consistently positive for the New York Mets, and the Mets will be fine.
I do like the Mets swapping David Peterson and Nolan McLean, making Peterson the second starter, splitting up the righty-righty
Yep.
situation there. Nolan McLean going third, that's good for him. I mean, on a team without Freddie Peralta, we were talking about Nolan McLean having to take ace duties at the time,
Yep.
especially not knowing what Kodai Senga would be and could be. But Nolan McLean now being kind of that third starter to start the season, I think that's just good for him to at least get the reps, get himself acclimated. I kind of like what I saw from him during the World Baseball Classic. I know a lot of people were complaining about him giving up the runs that he gave, but look,
Stop.
man, I thought he pitched well in such a high pressured situation. And if you love the WBC like I do, you know every game is absolutely, every game it means something. So to have him not only pitch the final game of the entire tournament, but pitch an important game against Italy. That's big reps for this kid.
Well, to me, Nolan McLean, that final game for the championship, versus they lost to Valenzuela. He pitched the final game. They were saying, well, he didn't do his job. It wasn't on him. He did his job. The lineup sucked. Kyle Schwarber and Aaron Judge struck out a combined 6,000 times. That all-star lineup, which was similar to the Yankees. Yeah, three hits. One, and it was Bryce Harper's two-run homer was, yeah. So it wasn't Nolan McLean's fault. He did his job. That's just a bunch of people who are not Met fans talking shit. Nolan McLean is the future ace of this team, but I kind of like I'm glad they did what they did. They got Freddie Peralta, who's been an ace before, and now you can let Nolan McLean with his stuff go against other teams' 3s and 4s and sometimes 5s, depending on how the days shake out in the schedule.
Let's move to the bullpen here and their outlook and season preview. You got Devin Williams. He's the new closer of the New York Mets, along with Luke Weaver, who will be setting him up. Brooks Raley also can be setting up from the side of being the left-handed reliever of that team. Luis Garcia. We talked about Richard Lovelady being a part of the team. Probably not for long until A.J. Minter comes back. Sean Manaea is a part of the bullpen, more as the piggyback guy that Carlos Mendoza mentioned. We saw that in Kansas City. At least through
the 2 times. What is it? 2 times through the rotation, and then they'll see how it goes. So,
absolutely. Oscar Brazaban will also be in the bullpen, as well as Mets.
He was awesome in the WBC.
Myers. Yeah, he was. I like the way that this bullpen is set up because you're talking about a couple of guys that could close, right? Devin Williams obviously has been a closer for some time. Luke Weaver can close as well. I'm pretty sure if Brooks Raley needs to close, he can do it. You have your middle relief in Luis Garcia and Richard Lovelady. And then you have guys that could pitch multiple innings. Sean Manaea, Oscar Brazaban, like you mentioned, had a fantastic WBC. And then you look at Tobias Myers, who can be a spot starter and can be, that Trevor Williams type guy. So I kind of like how they situated this bullpen right now. What are your thoughts on it?
Tobias Myers doesn't get talked about enough in his trade. He's a Swiss Army knife for this team. He's going to be that guy. Can come in when the starter's not doing well and go 3-4 innings. Could also come in a big spot in the games. Let's say you don't have a Luke Weaver available, or Devin Williams available. It means Luke Weaver moves up to be the closer, and then Tobias Myers gets high leverage situations. Brooks Raley being back, I'm solid move on that. He was awesome for the Mets last year. A.J. Minter, before he got hurt, he was awesome for the Mets last year. Richard Lovelady, I think he's not going to do anything with this team. He'll be in on garbage time. The key to this whole bullpen is Luke Weaver and Devin Williams. That is it. If those guys do their jobs, like I'm not expecting Devin Williams to be Edwin Diaz. Let's not forget Edwin Diaz also had us walking on tightropes too. It's not like he was Mariano Rivera, but he is the best closer in baseball, and I wanted him back. Out of all the guys gone, that's the one that hurt me the most.
Yeah, me too.
That's the one that bothered me the most. But I think Devin Williams, considering already he's been in New York for a season, chip on his shoulder from all the shit talking that the Yankee fans did after they were in his DM saying come back, and then he left and they trashed him. The back end of the bullpen, if Luke Weaver has a bounce back season, which I love his attitude. I mean, I didn't watch any of him on the Yankees. You can see he believes in himself, and he's got that very quiet, cocky confidence about him, and I love that. You need that in New York. If Williams and Weaver can hold it down, the back end of this bullpen, I ain't worried about a damn thing. But the minute Williams, if he blows a game this first series at home, it's going to get ugly quick. Quick.
Yeah, Devin Williams. Everyone says that things turned when Pete Alonso hit that home run, and it was like, oh, maybe it's just a one-off. But when he went
With the
to
soul.
when he became a New York Yankee, he just was not the same. And we're talking about a guy that was an elite closer. Probably, we talk about Edwin Diaz, but this guy was a consistent elite closer for a 4 to 5 year span.
They had him ranked number 1 going into the season last year. Number 1.
It's just crazy what changed. And like you, I agree. I think he needs to get off to a great start, as well as Luke Weaver, especially with how well they did. Well, definitely Luke Weaver did really well as being a closer. They probably brought him back too early from his injury, and he was not the same again when
Luke Weaver.
Well, Luke Weaver took over the closer's role from Devin Williams, right? And then he got hurt, and they brought him back too soon, and he was never the same again.
Well, the other thing is, and is the final month of the season, he spoke to the media. He's not the first Yankee pitcher that was disgusted with the Yankee staff. He said pretty much that they have him doing things he's not comfortable doing. Same thing with Sonny Gray happened. Same thing with Jordan Montgomery happened. Instead of letting the fucking pitchers do what they're successful, you want to tweak it. You shouldn't do that. I'm sorry. That's not what you should do to a guy who's already had success doing it his way. I can see if he was struggling, then you want to tweak stuff. But Luke Weaver was clearly not happy with the Yankees at the end of his stint. So I'm willing to give him a fresh start as a Met. And not judge him on what happened last year with the Yanks.
Yeah, that's the fresh start is it's needed. And I know a lot of people make jokes about the Mets taking Yankees players, but let's just look at some of the players that the Mets have taken, right? Juan Soto had a pretty good season, if not great season. Clay Holmes.
Come on, Ed. Come on. The Yankees had Dom Smith, J.D. Davis. I mean, suck balls. Marcus Stroman, suck ass. Get out of here with that crap. When the Mets love taking Yankee scraps. Get the fuck out of here, man. If you're gonna do that, come to the table with Matt Lawton. That's another Met trash that the Yankees had. The list goes on and on and on. So let's keep it a buck. Yankee fans are going like this to the Met fans, but they're just jealous that we got the big fish from them, Juan Soto.
Yeah, and I think he did. He posted today on. He posted
rent free
today,
and he deleted it. But he deleted it.
Oh, you gotta stick with it, man. You gotta stick with it.
Oh yeah. Don't you post if you posted it, and I love the fact that it shows he saw the clip, and his clip is later on that he's in it, so he watched the whole thing, and he wrote rent free. I love that he wrote that. So for all the Yankee fans saying he misses the Yankees.
I got a comment here for you. Please ask Al if he believes the Mets pitching staff is top in the National League, from Mike in BK.
Oh, yeah. See, Mike in Brooklyn's busting my chops right now. Because I said the Mets starting staff has the potential to be the best in the National League. Do I think it's the best in the National League now? I hate to do it, Mike. Fuck you, Mike. I'll see you tomorrow at City Field, you son of a bitch. I think the Dodgers clearly, they're the 2-time champs. That I can't say anything over them, but the Mets are right there, second, and it's better than being third, fourth, fifth, or sixth. And listen, I think this Met rotation, the top 3, if everything works out, can go toe to toe with the Dodgers. Yes, Mike, I said it.
Take it. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, take it.
Let's talk some predictions.
Yes, sir.
As we start to wrap up here. I don't know what predictions you may have on your hand, but one that I started off with was Nolan McLean and Carson Bench finishing top 3 in Rookie of the Year voting, with Carson Bench actually winning the Rookie of the Year.
Okay. Look at you.
Bold prediction.
Look at you. We already said Juan Soto winning MVP. Nolan McLean, I think he finishes top 3 Rookie of the Year. I don't know about Bench. It's great that you're putting it out there. I hope it happens.
Yeah.
I don't know about him. I have to see him on the big league level before I say that. But I saw Nolan McLean, what he did, and then I heard what his peers said about him that faced him. That he is just absolutely disgusting in a good way. And if we can get full season out of him and anything close to what he did in those 8 starts, he's easily going to win Rookie of the Year.
You kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier when we were talking about the infield. And so this was one of the predictions that I had. Brett Beatty takes over the first base job while Jorge Polanco moves to DH.
Yep. That's exactly what I think is going to end up happening. Polanco is going to get every opportunity at first. If he's butchering at first base, if he's, balls are thrown low and he's not scooping them out, if he's pulling a Pete Alonso ×2, making pitches, do Michael Jordan leaping for the ball at first base, he'll be at the DH position. And I think Brett Beatty will be the one playing first base.
And for me, it's not so much that Polanco does not, adapt to first base. It's more of maybe Mark Vientos just doesn't hit.
I can see that happening. So again, I think Mark Vientos, he's given every opportunity when he wasn't getting that when Buck Showalter was here. He's starting. They've already said you're the starting DH. They've already said that. You're getting the opportunity to leave your mark. If he fails, it's on him. It's not by lack of opportunities.
How about this one? Kodai Senga wins 13 games in that 5th spot. McLean could win 14 games. Peralta 15 games.
I like it. I'm with it. Kodai Senga, if he has any pride, which I think he does, and I'm sure he heard it this whole offseason and during the season when he was, he let the team down when he quit on them last year because he was afraid to pitch. He wanted to throw the air instead of helping the Mets in the final stretch run. I need to stay down here and work on my pitching. Throwing to who? Casper? What are we doing? But I think Kodai Senga, listen, if you go around baseball, anyone would take him as a 5th starter. Anyone would take him as a 4th starter. Anyone would take him as a 3rd starter, except for like the Yankees when they're fully loaded and healthy, or the Red Sox or the Dodgers. But that having him as a 5th starter that's amazing.
Bo Bichette leads the team in batting average.
I have Soto doing that. I have Soto doing that on his way to an MVP, but Bo Bichette right there second. My thing is, I think Bo Bichette hits 25 home runs with left field at Citi Field. I think that's where he can hit. His number is 17 and a half. I saw. I think 17 and a half. He book it for the over. Wow, Bo Bichette over 17 and a half for sure.
Bo Bichette had 18 home runs last season, 94 RBIs. Batting average, 311 last year. Career batting average, 294.
And go look at his strikeouts.
You think the protection helps out Juan Soto to
hell
hit
yeah.
better batting average?
Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, he's become famous now for calling the fan Paul from Yonkers. Get out of here. We got all minor leaguers. What is David Stearns doing? Who's going to be Pete Alonso? I need Pete Alonso. So I asked him, I said, Paul, Bo Bichette behind Juan Soto is not going to strike out the way Pete Alonso. He's going to put the ball. He's going to hit singles. I said, I don't care. They're going to win games. Like Bo Bichette is going to thrive behind Juan Soto, which is for the Yankees, which is why I thought the Mets found a way to get Bo Bichette. I thought Bo Bichette would have been the perfect Yankee in a lineup that needs guys that put the ball in play instead of swinging for the fences. So the Mets, listen, they didn't pivot. I mean, they didn't panic like some people said, which was moronic. They talked to Tucker. They talked to Bo Bichette. They were talking during the winter meetings. Hector told us this too. And then when it didn't work out with Tucker, Tucker was a you-know-what. He went to LA for a lesser contract, and Bo Bichette, they pounced on it, and the deal got done. We took him away from the Phillies. So win-win. And I actually like Bo Bichette better as a player on this team than Kyle Tucker on this team.
I 100% agree. If you listen to any of the Chicago Cubs fans, they were not a fan of
I know.
Tucker throughout the season. So
I know.
That was
Carlos
warning signs.
Yeah, Carlos, my guy. He's like, Kyle Tucker's a bitch. Those are not my words. They were booing him. They wanted to bench him in Chicago. And the Mets fans wanted the Mets to give him a $304 million contract. Get the fuck out of here. Get out of here.
Shea Parking Lot, a.k.a. Positive Jeff, saying Bo Bichette going to bat 302, 24 homers, 91 RBIs.
There we go.
I would love it.
There we go. And Shea, Positive Jeff, because that's Positive Jeff. Well, I'm sure he went to the airport yesterday morning, so I hope he gets here for opening day tomorrow. Mike is going to give him some shit for that one because they're sitting together. And he calls Jeff a mush. And by the way, I have Positive Jeff's the Nimmo jersey that he sent me from Black Market, and we're doing a ceremony tomorrow at Citi Field when it comes to Brandon Nimmo's old Met jersey.
I don't think I want to know what that ceremony entails.
There's going to be no burning. It's going to be real simple. it's before the first pitch and anything happens, before we enter Citi Field, we're getting it over with. So I'm not burning anything. Trust me, I'm not getting arrested before opening day. Sorry, not happening.
This next one I got for you, Francisco Lindor has a 30-30 season again.
I got to see how he starts the season because of the injury. If he's bopping home runs early in the season, because we know he gets off to slow starts. And again, Met fans, be patient. This is what happens, and then he heats up later on, especially coming back from this injury that he's dealt with the surgery. If it's on the table. How about that? It's on the table, but I have to see what happens. If his power is diminished from this injury.
No, absolutely. Marcus Semien has a bounce back offensive season.
Oh yeah, I got Marcus Semien hitting 16 to 20 home runs, 70 RBIs, hitting like 30 doubles, and playing a Gold Glove second base. Or if he moves to third base because Bichette can't hack it. Marcus Semien and his presence in the clubhouse, his leadership. I think Bo Bichette coming to the Mets was influenced by his relationship with Marcus Semien. He's talked about it all the time. He loves Marcus Semien. So when they were teammates in Toronto, Marcus Semien being here is such a huge upgrade compared to fucking depression moron, idiotic Jeff McNeil, who we had here, miserable Jeff. Like, I thank God that dude is gone. Thank the baseball gods.
15 homers, 62 RBIs. He even had 11 stolen bases, Marcus Semien. So he'll be 35 right now, probably going on 36. He batted .230, but like you said, had a better second half and hit better when he was away from Texas. Next one, we see Ryan Lambert in the bullpen. We got a taste of him this spring. He's been one of the talked about prospects in Mets baseball so far. We'll see Ryan Lambert this year.
I think if Luis Garcia doesn't do his job out this bullpen, that's where he'll fill in. That's the spot he takes.
Yeah, that's when I'm looking at this bullpen. Obviously, for Richard Lovelady, we'll see AJ Minter back. Outside of these other guys, yeah, Luis Garcia is the one that I'm thinking is going to be the one that transitions with Ryan Lambert, because if Huascar Brazaban's on, and he's one of the guys that I have here, I have Brazaban having under a 2.50 ERA.
My thing with the Met bullpen this year is I hope they don't do what they did last year and I know he's injured, where Reed Garrett was pitching 5 games in a row. Do not do that. And I know because the bullpen, the starting pitching sucked, so Mendy did it. But there's got to be moments where you got to let the starting pitcher take a beat down. It is what it is. Like you got to let him take a beat down. Yeah, keep him out there, man. The game's already lost. Let the starting pitcher get embarrassed. Maybe it'll pump him up for his next start to shove it up Mendy's ass. But you can't be having starting pitchers going 3 innings and then going to Reed Garrett and Brazaban every game. Every single game you can't do that.
Yeah. And that also requires the starting rotation.
Absolutely.
Keep into games. Like, it's a trickle down effect. If they're not pitching 5-6 innings, and it sucks to have to be like, can you just give me 5 innings? Like, no, we should be getting 6-7 innings from these starters, but we're not. So to have them at least pitch 5 or 6, kind of relieve that bullpen. That's why I like that they have these inning eater guys in Tobias Myers. Huascar Brazaban has been one of those guys to, what do you call them? The starters. What do you call it when the bullpen guy starts the game? What's that?
The opener.
The opener, yeah. The term blew right over my head. Yeah, but the opener.
That's fine.
And he's pitched a couple of innings too. So, I can see Brazaban, getting under 2.50 ERA if, all works well, like you said. Devin Williams will have more saves than Edwin Diaz.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. I will make this prediction. Edwin Diaz will blow a save first week of the season as a Dodger. Yeah, he's going to blow one first week of the season as a Dodger. It's going to happen. But Devin Williams more saves than Edwin Diaz. What's the number? I think I have Devin Williams getting like 38 saves this year.
I didn't put a number down, but like 38 saves. I don't even know if Edwin Diaz had 38 saves as a Met.
Well, last year he didn't have many opportunities, remember, to get saves because the starting, they weren't. He came in a lot of time. It was a tie game, or he didn't have opportunities like that. And when he did pitch, he pitched well. But I have Devin Williams. It's funny. I've just realized his number is also 38. So I have 38 saves for number 38, Devin
That's
Williams.
fine. Even in
Yeah.
2022, when Edwin Diaz was absolutely elite, that team kind of fell apart in September, and he basically had no save opportunities going into the postseason. So hopefully, we see the best of Devin Williams coming into this season. My final one for you, Francisco Alvarez hits 27 home runs.
And if that happens, I'll buy you Mr. Softy any flavor with whatever color sprinkles you want. But I have him if he's healthy. Give me 20 to 23 home runs. I'll be happy with that. I honestly would. Give me 20 to 23, 27. If he does that, holy shit, that means he stayed healthy all season. And he has the potential to do it. Don't get me wrong, but considering his injury history, I'll be happy with 20 to 23 home runs.
All right. As we wrap up this show, a couple of news and happenings surrounding this team from Queens, the New York Mets. The 86th reunion is happening, 40th anniversary, Saturday, August 1st, 2026. Mets are also going to be wearing a Davey Johnson patch. We know Davey Johnson passed away last year. Says Davey on it. Has, I don't know if it was white or silver lettering. It's pretty hard to decipher on the picture there, but in that black rectangle with the white border around it. From 1984 to 1990, had 595 career wins as the Mets manager, which is still number one in franchise history. Also had a .588 winning percentage. You know it best as the leader of the 1986 World Championships. One of the you always talk about that team as your favorite team. So, what did Davey Johnson mean to you, growing up here? 108 wins in 1986.
Yeah. He let the players be themselves. He always had the players' backs. He was a player's manager, but in a fun way. That they respected him, but he also let them be them. They went out partying. They did what they did. They had the hookers, the drugs, the drinking, the fighting. They destroyed the plane celebrating. He said, "We're not paying for shit." To the owners. Davey Johnson was, everybody says, "Well, Joe Torre did a great job keeping all those Eagles together." And Joe Torre would have not had no shot managing 86 Mets. He would have lost. You saw he was bald. He would have lost more hair, and he had no more left. Joe Torre. But Davey Johnson, the greatest manager of my lifetime. I thought he got a raw deal at the end, the way things fell apart. But Davey Johnson, man, like that dude, if you see the way the 86 Mets talk about him, that dude was the perfect guy to manage those wild motherfuckers.
The Mets winning, being the Miracle Mets in 1969 was huge. But, you want to talk about a team that had a great decade. That 80s team from pretty much 84 through 90, he averaged more than 95 wins per year. We're talking about a team that if that happened, this decade, this team would be in the playoffs every year. Every single year. And it sucks that we didn't get to see that they only went to the World Series once. Obviously had that heartbreaker in 1988 against the Dodgers.
No, don't remind me.
Yeah, we won't go in depth on that. But his family will take part. You're going to opening day. They will be there.
Nice.
His wife, Susan, escorting their stepson as well as their grandson for the ceremonial first pitch. Mookie Wilson and Darryl Strawberry will be catching those pitches. So,
Straw's going to be there tomorrow. Okay.
Strawberry's going to be there tomorrow.
Maybe I need to get a press credential.
When I went to, I've been to all of the so far, well, at least most of the number retirement ceremonies. I got to get tickets for whenever they announce Carlos Beltran's.
Same.
But Darryl Strawberry may have been the first time hearing the speech, watching the whole ceremony that I may have teared up.
Well, unfortunately, that was the time my back was out. That's when the Knicks were playing the Sixers during the playoffs as well, and I couldn't make it. That broke my heart. I wanted to be there for that. That was my guy. I teared up watching it. I know I had a tear roll down my cheek when Doc Gooden retired. They retired his number. That one I had a tear roll down my cheek because all the crap he self-inflicted, but for him to come out on the other end and have all his kids there, because he got a lot of kids. There was like 9 of them in there. And for him to overcome the things he did and still be alive. And, it was long overdue for him and Darryl to get their numbers retired, man. And those are my guys, man. Regardless of how things turned out, They should have won more. But that 86 team, man, I'll cherish that team until the day I die.
Yeah, another Met that from the 86 team is going to be making it to the Hall of Fame, Lee Mazzilli, along with my favorite manager, because I did not get to see that 86 team, Bobby Valentine. Both of them will be honored and going into the Mets Hall of Fame on Saturday, May 30th. Now, Lee Mazzilli had 2 stints with the Mets. He was kind of that up-and-coming prospect like Carson Bench is in that's late 70s, that Grant Toombs era team from 1976 to 1981, and then
He was
comes
an
back.
all-star.
He was an all-star, absolutely.
Yeah.
That 86 to 89 resurgence when he kind of was the pinch hitter of the Mets, winning that World Championship. That had to obviously feel good for him. He ranks 6th in team history with 152 stolen bases, and he's tied for 5th with 38 pinch hits. Now, Bobby Valentine managed the Mets from 1996 to 2002. Had 536 wins, which is the 3rd most in team history. And he's the first Mets manager to lead the team to back-to-back postseasons in 99 and 2000, obviously including that World Series run in 2000. And all the work that he did during 9/11 to help out the efforts will never be forgotten. What are your thoughts on both Lee Mazzilli and Bobby Valentine?
Well, Lee Mazzilli, I'll be honest with you, he was more of a bench guy on the Mets. And I really, at my young age, I really, to me, the number one pinch hitting was Rusty Staub coming up and Danny Heap coming up. Those are the guys. Like Lee Mazzilli, I don't really remember as being that dude like that for the Mets during that run. Bobby Valentine, the only question is he going to show up to the ceremony in a disguise for fun? Because he jokes around. I think he'll end up doing it just to play along, and Bobby was a great manager for the Mets as well. They got to a World Series with him, and he's a local guy. Same thing like Lee Mazzilli, and they're gonna get the numbers. They're gonna get the number retired. So the Hall of Fame, I mean. So good for them.
Now, originally they were supposed to be doing this with Carlos Beltran, but after the announcement of Carlos Beltran going into the National Baseball Hall of Fame,
which will be
on July 26th, he is now going to get his own day, which is he'll go into the Hall of Fame and he will be retired. You just talk about the stats for this guy from 2005 to 2011. He hit 149 homers. He had 559 RBIs. He's 3rd in franchise history with a 31.1 WAR, which, people take that how you will. But being 3rd on this team franchise with all the hitters that they've had, he's one of the best 5-tool players that we've ever seen. Maybe the best, if you think about it.
He is the best. He's the best all-around Met player to ever put on the uniform. Darryl Strawberry is the best homegrown Met. Sorry, Dave Wright. Sorry, Pete Alonso. Darryl Strawberry was must-see TV every time he came to the plate. I remember that as a kid. Anytime he was up at the plate, you dropped everything, whether we were winning by 10 or losing by 10. But Carlos Beltran, as far as overall player, fielding, stealing bases, at the plate, I know he gets flack for Game 7. I was in the building for that bullshit. He gets a lot of shit for that. But how about his regular season that he had that year? What he had 41 and 119?
41, yeah.
Yeah, 41 and 119, something like that. If he would have played the last week of the season, he could have won MVP that year. I think he was hurt in the last month of the season as well. But he's underappreciated, Carlos Beltran, as a Met. He just is. And I'm glad he's getting his own day. He's going to Hall of Fame. I hope to make the trip for that because I've never been up there, so it'll be the perfect opportunity to do that. But congratulations to Carlos Beltran. I'm glad he's getting his own day.
And this is my favorite stat. He's one of only 4 players in MLB history to have 1,500 runs, 2,700 hits, 400 home runs, and 300 steals. One of only 4 players in Major League history.
And I think there's a stat where he's one of 4 switch hitters in baseball, something similar to that as well. So, and he plays one of the most demanding positions in the game is catcher, their shortstop, and his center field. And Carlos Beltran plays center field. He's up there with the best fielding-wise as well.
No date announced yet for the ceremony at Citi Field, but if you want to go to the National Baseball Hall of Fame and see him get inducted, that'll be on July 26th of this year. The final note, Howie Rose announces his retirement. A lot a lot of memories of Howie Rose, whether it's the Johan Santana no-hitter call. You talk about the Pete Alonso home run. He's had so many big calls in Mets history. I remember him from being on TV, Fox Sports New York with Fran Healy. That's how I got introduced to Howie Rose.
Yeah, Howie's obviously a legend in the business. He also used to do shows at WFAN as well. I totally forgot about that. Evan talked about that. I'm looking at the signs. It's the 40th anniversary. Howie Rose is retiring. Davey Johnson, who was the manager of the 86 team, passed away. They're celebrating the 86 team. If there's ever a time to fucking get a World Series championship, this is the year to do it.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I hope that they get it done for Howie. And as much as I love Gary, Keith, and Ron, I think I will be listening more to games on the radio this season just so I can hear Howie's calls for the final time than watching him on TV. But Howie Rose is one of the greatest of all time. Even in hockey, he's one of the. Yep.
I remember that call.
Absolutely, man. Al, I appreciate you so much for coming on.
Thank you, man.
It's always a pleasure having you on and chatting it up with you. Please let everyone know your socials, what you got coming up, and obviously, go meet Al at Citi Field tomorrow.
Okay. If you notice me, I have no problem. I don't go looking for the attention. Last year I was at a game and this guy in front of us turns around and says, "Is this you?" And I said, "Yeah, that's me." He goes, "I recognize the voice." And the old man next to us, after the fireworks were done, goes, "I listened to you too, man. Keep it the great work." He didn't say anything the whole game that he knew who I was until afterwards. So, I don't go looking for the attention. If you see me, I'm not a bougie bastard. I'll say hello. I'll take pictures if you want. I'm already going to meet a group of people. It's been planned all off season. So I've already said the names of the people. There's a lot of crazy people out there, so I will now say my section. So if you see me, you can say hello. It happened last opening day. I got noticed a bunch, which was pretty cool and surreal. Some media members said the same. Al Cintron, big fan of you. I'm like, oh shit, it's still surreal to me when people say that stuff to me. But I'll be there. I'll be there tomorrow. Don't know what shows I have coming up because the schedule hasn't come out yet. But you can find me on social media at TheoNYC on Insta, on Twitter. And now that baseball season's coming and the next playoffs are coming, me and Hector are going to start doing some content. We have some Nick watch parties coming up, and we're going to do some content outside Madison Square Garden and during the season outside Citi Field as well. So hopefully you guys are not afraid, camera shy, to interact and join in on the fun.
Yeah, I'll be linking up with Hector this Saturday. We're doing a hit for New York 1. So if you got New York 1, check that out. We'll be kind of previewing the rest of the season. I know the games have already started, but me and Hector will be doing that for the Yankees and the Mets. You can follow me on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Subway to Shea. You can follow me personally at Ant Rivera 86. Subscribe to the podcast if you want to listen on Apple and Spotify. But if you want to be a part of the chat and conversation like you were tonight, please do that on YouTube. You can also do that on X, but we have a lot more fun doing it on YouTube. So appreciate everyone for tuning in and being part of the Subway to Shea podcast. Al, it's always a pleasure. Do me a favor, Al, give a huge hug to your little guy Gizmo for me, man. The best pup in the world right now.
Thank you. He turned 16 this week. I've been up since 9:00 yesterday night because I had to go to the studio, then go to the hotel. Couldn't sleep because Gizmo made a mess. I walked into a mess. But I love him. I'll give him a hug for you, and I'll say hello to him to you as well. You know that. I got your back, and say hello to your wife and your son for me as well.
Appreciate you, brother. That wraps it up for Subway to Shea. Thank you for tuning in for the season preview. We'll be back every Sunday night now, starting at 9:30 during the season. Obviously, I like to do morning shows during the off season, but during the season, 9:30 p.m. every Sunday. I'll try to do some more videos as well during the season. I got some stuff planned, but I will talk about that in the future. That wraps it up for Subway to Shea, Ant Rivera, as well as Al Cintron. Thank you so much. Let's enjoy opening day. Let's enjoy this 2026 season. Always like to end the show saying, let's go.
Let's go.